Today is February 25th, 2026. And, if you're one of the millions of people relying on a fixed income, you know that the calendar is about to flip to March.
Get right down to the wire.
Yeah. And March isn't just about, spring training or the weather finally breaking. It is about a very specific, very personal financial reality check.
That's right. For a huge portion of the population, March is really when the rubber meets the road. It's when those New Year's financial promises actually hit the bank account.
And that is exactly what I want to dig into today because, we've been seeing the headlines for months now.
Oh, absolutely. The victory laps.
Right. The newspapers have been trumpeting this 2.8% cost of living adjustment, the COLA for 2026, and they frame it like a win, like a raise or a bonus. Rejoice, the increase is here.
Yeah, but if you look at the community...
Well, looking at the emails we're getting from you guys, the mood isn't exactly celebratory.
Yeah. It rarely is when you actually look at the details. The tension really comes from that gap between the headline, which screams growth, and the kitchen table reality, which often just says squeeze.
So our mission today is to essentially ignore the press release. Mm-hmm. We're going to look past that headline percentage and do what I like to call the grim math.
The grim math. I like that.
We need to figure out what actually lands in a retiree's pocket starting next month.
And to do that, we're working from a specialized deep analysis report regarding 2026 Social Security volatility and the real financial impacts. And honestly, the theme of this report isn't wealth generation.
No, it's not.
It's defense. It's a battle for your purchasing power.
Now, a battle implies an opponent. So who are we fighting here?
Inflation, for one, but also the system's own internal mechanics, specifically things like Medicare premiums and tax thresholds that are, waiting to erode that benefit increase before you even touch it.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the big number everyone is throwing around right now, the COLA, 2.8%. On the surface, that sounds fine, not amazing, but better than zero.
Sure, but we really have to define what COLA actually is. It is not a performance bonus. It's not a reward.
Hey.
It is a lagging defense mechanism. It's calculated based on the CPIW, that's the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners, and it's pulled from the third quarter of last year. Its entire purpose is just to try and keep you afloat against the inflation that has already happened.
So it's a reimbursement, not a raise.
That is the perfect way to view it. But let's translate that percentage into actual grocery money, that 2.8% headline. When you break it down for the average retired worker, that translates to a gross increase of about $54 to $56 per month.
Wait, hold on. $54?
That is the average.
That's it. The headlines made it sound like a windfall. $54 is, What is that? A slightly nicer dinner out?
Maybe.
Or maybe half a week of groceries if you're really careful.
It's not much. The report estimates that the average total benefit after this adjustment sits at around $1,276 per month for a retired worker.
Okay, so on paper, you're up $54. But as we know from reading this report, paper games don't pay the electric bill.
Exactly. And this is where it gets incredibly frustrating for people. That $54 increase does not exist in a vacuum. It doesn't just slide into your bank account untouched.
It's under attack.
It is immediately under attack.
This is the collision we talked about in the prep. The Medicare collision. Although, honestly, looking at the numbers, it feels less like a collision and more like a mugging.
It can certainly feel that way. You have to understand the relationship between Social Security and Medicare Part B. I call it symbiotic but adversarial.
That does not sound like a healthy relationship.
Well, it's complicated because Part B premiums, which cover your doctors, outpatient care, things like that, are usually deducted directly from your Social Security check.
You never even see the money.
Never. It's gone before the deposit hits. And in 2026, the cost of that premium has shifted significantly.
Let's look at the data here. In 2025, the premium was $185 flat.
Correct. But for 2026, the standard premium didn't just inch up, it jumped to $222.90.
Whoa, that is a steep hike. That's almost a $38 jump.
It is. Now, the analysis report highlights a specific fluctuation impact related to how this deduction works against the COLA. When we look at the exact mechanics, they identify a specific bite of roughly $17.90 that directly offsets the COLA calculation we just did.
Okay, let's walk through the grim math on this. We had a gross increase of roughly $54 from the CLA.
Right.
We subtract that specific Medicare premium hike impact of $17.90.
And you are left with a net gain of only about $36.10.
$36. So the government basically gives you a $54 raise with one hand, and the other hand reaches into your pocket and takes a third of it back immediately.
That is the net gain. That is the real number that actually matters.
What does $36 actually buy you in 2026?
A tank of gas? Maybe, if you drive a hybrid.
Or a few cartons of eggs and some milk.
Exactly. When you compare a $36 random net increase against the rising costs of heating your home, buying prescription drugs, or just existing for many people, the value surplus of the 2026 CLA is effectively zero.
It's a total wash.
Completely.
It feels like running on a treadmill that's slightly elevated. You're working harder and harder just to stay in the exact same spot.
That is precisely why understanding the net versus the gross is so critical. If you budget your life based on the headline, you're going to be in the red by the second week of the month.
And this confusion between gross and net is actually fueling a massive misconception right now. I know you've seen the posts on social media.
Oh, everywhere.
Or heard the rumors at the coffee shop claiming everyone is getting a $2,434 check. People are emailing us asking, where's my $2,434?
Yes, the rumor mill is working overtime. We really need to myth bust this immediately. That $2,434 figure, that is absolutely not the standard retiree benefit.
So where's that number coming from? Did someone just make it up?
It's not made up, but it's completely context-free. It usually refers to maximums for SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, or specific subgroups with very specific high earning histories. It is an outlier number.
But it spreads because of the letters.
Right. The reason it spreads is because people look at that benefit verification letter they got back in November.
The letter that says, here is your new benefit amount for 2026.
Yes. But that letter shows your gross benefit. It shows the big number before the government takes its cut for Medicare and taxes. People see that number, they mentally spend that number, and then March comes around.
And the deposit is way lighter than expected.
And panic sets in.
So we don't need to read the calendar to you guys.
Yeah.
Most listeners know the second, third, fourth Wednesday rule for payments. The crucial insight from the report is the lag time.
Yes.
There is a huge psychological gap between the gross number you saw in that November letter and the net number hitting your bank in March.
That's the key takeaway here, because it's late February right now. Let's outline the March schedule so people are ready. If you were born between the 1st and the 10th, your payment arrives Wednesday, March 11th.
Okay.
Born the 11th through the 20th. That's Wednesday, March 18th.
And the 21st to the 31st is Wednesday, March 25th.
Exactly. And the action item here isn't just knowing the date, it's reconciling that difference before you set your autopay bills. You need to log in to sai.gov.
Today. Don't wait.
Do not wait for the system to correct an error or for a letter to arrive. Look at the actual deposit amount scheduled for March. If you're expecting the gross number and you get the net number, that could cause an overdraft if you aren't careful.
You have to be proactive.
Yeah.
You cannot just assume the government math is going to work out in your favor.
You have to be your own advocate. Nobody else is going to do it.
Now, we talked about Medicare taking a bite, but there are some other silent erasers of wealth that the report mentions. These are things that are even sneakier because they don't hit everyone. But if they hit you, they hit hard.
We're talking about IRMAA and the tax torpedo.
IRMA. It sounds like a hurricane. And judging by the emails we get, it kind of feels like one to the wallet.
It really does. IRMAA stands for Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. I like to describe it as the ghost of income past.
Why past?
Because it's a surcharge on your Medicare Part B and Part D premiums, but it's based on your income from 2 years ago.
Wait, so your 2026 premiums are determined by what you earned in 2024. That seems entirely disconnected from reality.
It feels incredibly unfair, but that's the system. They look at your modified adjusted gross income, or MAGI, and we really need to pause on that acronym for a second because modified is where they get you.
What exactly are they modifying?
They take your standard adjusted gross income and they add back things you probably thought were tax-free. Specifically, tax-exempt interests, like from municipal bonds.
You're kidding. So the stuff you bought specifically to avoid taxes actually counts against you for Medicare.
Correct. If, back in 2024, that MGI exceeded $106,000 for a single filer or $212,000 for a couple, boom, you get hit with a surcharge. And this isn't just a penalty for the ultra-wealthy.
No, I imagine this trips up a lot of middle-class retirees who are dealing with forced withdrawals.
Exactly. Required minimum distributions, or RMDs. Starting at age 73, you must withdraw a certain amount from your traditional IRAs or 401ks. That withdrawal counts as income.
which inflates the NGI.
It artificially inflates it for that year, pushing you over the threshold. 2 years later, you get a letter saying your Medicare premium just doubled. That is the IRMAA shock.
Is there any way out of it? Or do you just have to pay the penalty for having saved money?
There is a solution, but you have to ask for it. You have to fight for it. It's called Form SSA 44.
There is SAFE 44. Everyone listening, grab a pen and write that down.
If your income dropped because of a life-changing event, and the government defines this very specifically, retirement, divorce, death of a spouse, loss of pension property, you can file this form to appeal the surcharge. You're basically telling them, hey, look at my income now, not 2 years ago.
That is a crucial tip. Do not just pay it if you have a valid reason to appeal.
Okay, let's move to the other eraser, the tax man. And this is where I think the biggest misunderstanding of all lies.
The combined income formula.
Right, because most people grow up hearing Social Security is a benefit. I paid into it my whole life. It's tax-free.
Well, for a vast number of people, that is simply false. There is a specific formula the IRS uses to determine if they can tax your benefits. And this is where I usually introduce a hypothetical friend. Let's call him Bob.
Okay, Bob the retiree.
Bob has a Social Security check, and he has a modest IRA. He needs a new roof this year, so he pulls an extra $5,000 out of his IRA. He thinks, I'll just pay normal income tax on that $5,000. No big deal.
Sounds logical enough. But here's the trap. The IRS calculates what they call provisional income. They take your adjusted gross income, add any non-taxable interest, and then, here's the kicker, they add 50% of your Social Security benefits.
Okay, so income plus interest plus half your benefits.
That is the magic number. Now, hold on to your seat. If that number exceeds just $25,000 for a single person...
Wait, stop. $25,000. That threshold hasn't been adjusted for inflation in decades, has it?
Not since the 1980s. It is incredibly low. And for a couple, it's $32,000. If Bob crosses that threshold just because of that roof repair withdrawal, up to 85% of his Social Security benefits suddenly become taxable income.
So that extra withdrawal didn't just get taxed by itself. It essentially dragged his Social Security into the tax bracket with it.
Precisely. It's what financial planners call the tax torpedo. For every dollar Bob withdrew for his roof, his taxable income might have actually gone up by $1.85 because he triggered the tax on his benefits.
That is brutal. It's a massive double whammy.
It highlights why strategic withdrawals are so vitally important. You cannot just pull money out willy-nilly to buy a car or fix a roof without running that provisional income math first.
Which leads us perfectly into strategy. Because the report suggests there are real ways to maneuver through this minefield, specifically regarding timing.
Timing is everything in this game. Let's look at claiming age. This is the classic debate.
Early bird versus the patient waiter.
Right. If you claim at age 62, you are taking a permanent haircut, a 25 to 30% cut in your monthly check for life.
And with inflation running the way it is, a 30% cut hurts a lot more now than it did 10 years ago.
It really does. But if you wait until age 70, you get the maximum possible benefit. In 2026 terms, that could be up to $4,173 per month. That's because of delayed retirement credits. Your benefit basically grows 8% per year just by waiting.
That's a guaranteed 8% return. You literally can't get that in the stock market risk-free. Even the best hedge funds struggle to guarantee 8%.
You really can't find it anywhere else. Now, people always ask, but what if I die early? The mathematical victory, or the break-even point, usually occurs around age 80 to 82. So, the simple rule is, if your health allows and you have longevity in your family history, waiting until 70 is almost always the superior financial move.
And what about managing those taxes we just talked about? How do we avoid the torpedo? The report mentioned Roth conversions.
Yes, this is an expert tip for avoiding Bob's problem. Consider performing Roth conversions before you turn 73.
Walk us through the logic there. Why would you want to pay taxes early?
Because when you convert traditional IRA money to a Roth, yes, you pay taxes on it now, but you are doing it on your own terms, ideally in a year where your income is much lower.
You control the bracket.
Exactly. You are in the driver's seat. But once that money is in a Roth, it grows completely tax-free, and more importantly, it is not subject to RMDs.
So you reduce the size of your traditional IRA,
which reduces your future forced withdrawals,
which keeps your provisional income lower,
and keeps the tax torpedo far away from your Social Security. It's playing the long game.
That is really smart. Now, before we wrap up today, we have to address the elephant in the room. The thing that keeps people up at night when they think about 2030, 2033.
The solvency issue.
Right, because the headlines scream, Social Security bankrupt in 2033, the fund is empty. People want to know, is the system collapsing? Is the check going to bounce?
Let's take a collective breath and look at the facts. The fear is real, but the headlines are extremely misleading. When they say the trust fund will be depleted around 2033 or 2034, that does not mean the bank account is closed.
It doesn't mean the money just vanishes.
No. Depleted just means the excess reserve fund hits zero. But remember, Social Security is a pay-as-you-go system. Current workers, your kids, your grandkids, they are paying payroll taxes right now.
So money is still flowing in every single payday.
Exactly. Even if the reserve hits absolute zero, those incoming payroll taxes are enough to cover roughly 77% to 80% of promised benefits.
Okay, so in a worst-case scenario, an absolute doomsday scenario where Congress does nothing, checks get cut by 20%, they don't go to zero.
Correct. But let's look at the political reality. The report calls this the voter volume safety net. We are talking about 70 million Americans currently in this system.
That's a lot of voters. That is an election-deciding number of voters.
Exactly. It is political suicide for any party, whether you're on the left or the right, to let Social Security fail or to suddenly cut benefits by 20%. No politician is going to sign a bill that cuts their grandmother's check. It just won't happen.
So what's the actual likely fix?
Well, Congress will wait until the last possible minute, because that's what they do, and then they will likely raise the payroll tax cap. Right now, high earners stop paying Social Security taxes after a certain income amount. Uncapping that brings in a massive ton of revenue. Or they might adjust the retirement age slightly for younger generations, people who are currently in their 20s or 30s.
So for the retiree listening today, the system isn't crumbling beneath their feet.
No. It faces structural challenges, but it is not going bankrupt.
Well, that is a relief. Okay, let's bring this all home. We've covered a lot of ground today. The COLA illusion, the Medicare clawback, the tax torpedo, timing your claims.
The big takeaway here is that retirement is not a static event. You don't just cross the finish line, put your feet up, and stop running. It's a dynamic, living system.
The government gives with one hand the KLA and takes with the other Medicare and taxes.
Right, so you can't just accept the default.
Let's give our listeners 3 immediate action items to do today.
Number 1, control your data. Log into saa.gov right now. Don't look at the November verification letter. Look at the actual scheduled payment for March. Verify the net amount so you aren't surprised by the Medicare deduction.
Number 2,
Appeal IRMAA. If you had a life-changing event, you retired, you lost a spouse, and your income dropped, do not pay that surcharge just because the computer said so. Download Form SSA 44 and fight for your money.
and number 3.
Watch out for the tax torpedo. Look closely at your withdrawals. If you have a 401k or an IRA, plan your distributions so you stay under those combined income tax thresholds, if at all possible. Don't be like Bob and accidentally tax your own benefits.
Fantastic advice.
Can I leave you with one final thought?
Please.
No one, and I mean absolutely no one, will protect your retirement better than you will. The system is designed with defaults. And those defaults rarely favor the individual. They favor the system's efficiency. The question you have to ask yourself is, are you just accepting the default, or are you actively engineering your own net gain?
That's powerful. Are you the passenger or are you the driver?
Exactly.
Well, that is all the time we have for this deep dive. We hope this helps you navigate the March adjustment with a little more confidence and a lot more strategy. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.